Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. This gentleman has so much insight in dealing with something that's very challenging. And if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. That challenging thing is your kids. And I mean that with love. We never get the manual. I'm still waiting for it to arrive years later on how to parent. So we call upon professionals like him who have spent many years working with and really understanding the psychological needs of children and their parents. And he has spent many years as a district psychologist in California, Reed Union School District. And this is Good Advice Helps with Dr. Allan Gold back on the program. Welcome, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm not freezing like you must be in New York.
My friend, it's been hours I've been sitting here in the studio. It's thermostat is set to probably 72 degrees right now. My hands are still ice cubes. I can't get warm. I don't know what it is. It's crazy. So feel that gratitude of where you are, where I'm going to guess and say.
Yes, I feel very fortunate. It's in the 60s probably.
I was going to say at least 50 something, upper 50s right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll be there soon.
I hope so.
At least 3 months, but we'll be there soon. A lot of things to get to today, even before we do. Just want to let people know what you've done, how many years you've done it, some of the things what it looked like in your career over many years as a school psychologist. Could you give us that?
Sure, I'll try to do that quickly. I started my job at my rather small, high socioeconomic status school district just north of San Francisco in 1976. I ended up working for over 47 years, and I saw a lot of changes. I worked with kids from kindergarten through 8th grade for most of those years. The last 10, I gave up the population was increasing, and I gave up the kindergarten to second graders. But I would do the normal school psychology duties of assessing kids for special education, for learning disabilities, emotional problems, attention deficit problems. But I also had the blessing, really, of being able to counsel a lot of kids. I ran groups for children who needed social skill development, who may have had parents who were divorcing or had divorced, who had siblings who were special needs kids, who had parents who were sick or even passed away, who needed help with organization skills. I did a lot of classroom work on going into classes and talking about helping kids be aware of what child abuse was, good and bad touch, teasing and bullying. And if teachers, had a topic that they wanted me to lead a discussion with their class, I certainly would do that. I worked a lot with parents. I worked with administrators, and certainly a lot of individual and small group counseling for kids.
What was in all those years, decades, what do you feel was really your greatest challenge? When it might be one child who has a certain situation going on, all those years, what do you think stands out for you as the biggest challenge?
I think probably the biggest challenge would be when I couldn't get a kid to talk. Fortunately, it was very rare. But if they were really inhibited in their willingness to reveal what was going on. Fortunately, I was able to do that with probably 99+% of the kids, but that was frustrating. And dealing with kids who were possibly undergoing abuse, because then I would the responsibility of a school psychologist, or frankly, not just school psychologists, but teachers as well. Anybody who's an educator, if they suspect child abuse, they have to inform Child Protective Services or the police or both.
Mm.
And that was always hard to do. And I guess the kids who were depressed were those were the most challenging ones. And I guess the other one I would say would be kids who weren't motivated. That was really challenging. If they wouldn't work on school, if they didn't have any interest in any extracurricular activities, trying to pull that apart and figure out, okay, why is this child so unmotivated? So I would say those were the most difficult um, issues that I had to deal with. But as long,
I can't imagine being in that position, being in that office. You never know what's going to be at your door, and
right,
then especially where there might be a challenge in getting a child to open up. On one side, every situation is a new situation, so you have a fresh set of eyes on it. Dare I say, a little exciting. Where I'm here, I have this training, I have this experience. I'm going to help this child and their family. But on the other side, when these things come up, especially, a child is not being that verbal, you can't do your job. There's the exciting part and the frustrating part all in the same time.
that can happen. Fortunately, I was able to get most kids to talk, even if they were depressed. I could at least get them to, talk, and we would explore the reasons for the depression, even the lack of motivation sometimes. But those were difficult ones. But if kids had a loss of a pet, a loss of a grandparent, even a loss of a parent, those were sort of easier. I think my communication skills, just showing real interest in the child,
Mm.
wanting to know more about them, and establishing good contact and trust enabled me to explore with them what was going on. And I would say for most kids, that was successful.
Do you feel in the beginning when you work with a child that it's almost as if you don't work on the challenge, you get to know them. You're not even
Yes,
asking any of the other questions. You're just saying, what
right.
do you like doing? What video game you like playing? Those kind of things.
I didn't ask that back in 1980, but
Okay, how long did it take you to solve the Rubik's Cube?
I
Yeah.
had kids who loved doing that, actually.
Sure, of
As a matter of
course, of
fact. Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Mm. I guess it's even in a way similar. Salespeople, they're not talking about the solution and what they have to offer. Look at you. I could never, and I never say never, but I wasn't me. I could figure that after a period of time, but I'm envious of those that can solve that very
It just
quickly.
happens to be in a drawer in the desk, right? Where
That's
I'm sitting.
fantastic.
Not that I do it
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm psychic. I didn't share that with you. Um, we have a feature here called "What's Really Going On," and there are many times we get feedback from listeners, people who even looking for your career paths. You can always reach out, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. So, going to present a hypothetical situation, even based on some real things that I know that somebody's going through, but some deeper detail where we can look at what you think is really going on here. So, 12-year-old boy, parents recently got divorced. His dad picks him up from school pretty much every day, drops him off at mom's. So there is a regular connection. However, this boy doesn't want to stay at dad's place. Again, fairly fresh situation. They sold the house. Mom is living here. Dad is living here. Dad intentionally got a place that's in the school district area so that he could be there. Dad even has a place, in his apartment. It's all set up for the son. Son doesn't want to stay there. He asks his son. Son just, man, I just don't want to. I don't want to. Can you drop me off at mom? Dad's trying really hard. What's really going on here?
Hmm. Well, it's a tough question, obviously.
For sure.
I mean, most kids are pretty severely impacted by divorce, even though they don't necessarily demonstrate it. Um, and we don't know the relationship that he originally had with his dad. Maybe his dad has been very critical of him
Mm,
over the time. Maybe he's the tough guy, the tough parent, and he doesn't want to do that. Maybe as a 12-year-old, an early adolescent, he might be manipulating. He might want to do things, sneak cigarettes or do something, and mom is more lenient and he can get away with what he wants to do that.
mm,
Maybe dad is much stricter about his um, social connections. Maybe he doesn't want to send the son to a friend's house, but only wants friends to come to dad's house. Maybe he's blaming dad for the divorce. Um,
mm.
we don't know. He might have heard dad criticize mom. Maybe he's just closer to his mother. I mean, because all kids. Um, yeah, I probably shouldn't say it, but the connection with the parents is usually not equal. They may have a favorite parent. I don't say that's true for,
And that can change too.
and that can change too. I mean,
Yeah.
I was much closer to my mother than I was with my father because
Same.
he was controlling and so it took a long time to kind of change that. So he may just feel um, oppressed and controlled, particularly as a 12-year-old, and that can change. But that's the age when, in seventh grade, sixth or seventh grade, when kids are really striving for independence, maybe mom recognizes that he's growing up. And can be more independent, and dad isn't willing to do that. So it depends a lot on dad's parenting skills and approach. We don't know how dad communicates with him. Um, he may still treat him like a little boy, and that's insulting, and he doesn't want to do that. Um, so I know I'm saying a lot of different things here,
No,
but
but you know what? We don't know all the answers.
no. And
We're,
it
we're
may, the dad may not even know the answers, and maybe unless the kid is approached in a one-to-one situation, and like making building trust with a kid, and then saying, how come you really don't like to stay at your dad's house? And if he would eventually be able to say, well, dad does this and this and this, and then we have some idea about why. But it takes some investigation and generally a third party. Um, you know, uh,
mm,
because I don't, if mom asked him, how come you don't want to stay at dad's? I don't know if he would feel comfortable enough saying. He may not want to put down the parent, his dad. So, but there's a chance that with a psychologist or counselor, he may be willing to say, or maybe he hasn't figured it out. Maybe it's just a gut reaction, and those are the hardest ones to kind of figure out if kids just, react kind of unconsciously or subconsciously to a situation and they really haven't thought it through. Um, to know, yeah, this is exactly why I don't want to be with my dad, or exactly why I don't want to do this. But, not all kids have that insight, and they need a lot of help kind of doing that.
I don't know. We don't know the dynamics of the geographics and all of that. But dad is picking up his son on a regular basis every single day. So
Hmm.
I'm going to say that, all right, put a check mark there. At least the son is not saying, I don't want to deal with dad.
Right, exactly.
No, no, no. So they have a connection. They have some, we'll assume, some dialogue on a regular basis. Son just does not want to stay at dad's. I'm going to say at this time. Again, this is a
Right.
fresh divorce. Are there some things that maybe dad could do, could say, maybe adjust the way that he approaches it? I can't imagine, like, dad's got to be very frustrated too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it hurts, I'm sure too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, what
Well,
could dad do?
well, if could, he could use, like I've mentioned before, an I statement that said, I'm really feeling confused, or I'm feeling a little hurt
Hmm.
that you don't want to stay with me. Is there something I could do that would make you feel more comfortable staying with me? Or could we go out and do something fun that you'd enjoy? But can you please help me understand, and do it in a very calm, not angry way. Why won't
Sure.
you stay with me? That kind
Yeah.
of thing. That's gonna,
And thank you for that with the I statement, because you hear that when it applies to adult relationships. You do this. You don't want to do this. You do you. If you make it I, then, and I love what you said there, beautiful, Alan, where I'm trying to understand, just come from a place of confusion as a dad.
yeah.
Help me out with this.
Yeah,
Could you
yeah.
help?
I love you very much and I like being with you, but um, if you can tell me something, maybe complete the sentence. Dad, if you would just do a little more of this or a little less of that, I'd feel more comfortable staying here,
Hmm.
So because the father would need the feedback. Now, whether the kid, really, like I said earlier, if he really understands what's getting in the way,
Right.
you know,
Hmm.
that's one thing. But if he does, at least it's a um, feasible attempt to change the communication between the father and the son, and to
Hmm.
recognize the son's opinions and feelings and respect those.
Um, Even baby steps, if
Yeah,
it's
right.
once every 2 weeks, if it's,
Yeah, no,
not
that's
the full
perfect.
weekend, anything, just a starting point.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, Another thing we want to do here, golden tools you can use tonight. And brand new feature here, you are Alan Gold, golden tools. What's one thing that we could do, piece of advice, doesn't matter what it is, maybe something that we could use tonight with our kids, to make things a little bit easier. Maybe it addresses a certain challenge that you might be having with your kids. Maybe it's communication or whatever. Anything
yeah.
that you could share with us today?
Sure. I think you said the magic word, which is communication, because I think that is so complicated for parents to learn really how to communicate with their kids in a way
Mm,
that is respectful, complimentary, not always critical, um, and to try to manage their kids in a way that doesn't hurt the kid. And that's tricky. I'm not saying that parents have to be their children's friends, because I don't think that works either. I've seen that in the past, where when we were growing up, parents were parents and they were the bosses. And then there was this kind of shift in the 70s and 80s and 90s that parents wanted to be their kids' friends, but then they
mm,
sort of lost control over them. So it's a very tricky skill. How do you manage your child, but in a respectful, calm way? And I think parents who are able to do that really build um, solid, trusting relationships with their kids. And particularly watching what you say all the time. Am I always critical of my kid? No, this isn't the way you do it. This is the way you do it. Making sure that they can praise their children, because you want the child to have a good, solid self-esteem. And that's one of the hardest things for kids to build. because they're always being criticized by parents and by teachers, often by other kids.
Or themselves going on
Or,
social media and comparing.
well, or themselves, yes. So I think part of the communication that parents need to develop is, fairly frequent compliments. Wow, John, that was a really nice thing you did for Dad when you helped him carry the mail in or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be a big deal. Um, but I think parents have to be conscious because what slips out of the parent's mouth most automatically is a correction, you know. Um,
You think
you
it
know.
becomes a habit? Like once you,
Oh
let's
yeah.
say you reframe, you're aware. Yeah, sometimes I say things and maybe it's not in the right tone. I'm going to be, not that you're going to walk on eggshells, but you're just going to be a little more intentional and aware of how you say certain things.
Yes,
After
yes.
a while, does it become sort of like autopilot?
Yeah, I think so. Because I
Hmm.
wasn't I wasn't always a complimentary person. Not that I would say bad things about people,
Sure.
but I used to think, well, if I give it was a win-lose situation, a compliment to somebody else means that I'm not worthwhile. But over time, I realized that it was so important to give compliments, and I started doing it. And now it's almost automatic. If somebody does something that is um, very helpful or kind or altruistic or whatever, um, I note it. So it's kind of built in there, but it does take time. You're absolutely right, to make it a habit, and particularly with parents and kids, because kids will do things that are not right, and then how do you correct them in a way that um, at least acknowledges that they were trying?
Mm.
If they're disrespectful, that's another whole topic. How do you deal with kids being disrespectful? That's where I statements come in from the parent. Um, you know, I was really hurt when you swore at me, that kind of thing, rather than swearing back or, go to your room, that kind of thing. And it definitely takes practice.
Mm.
That's why I think counseling for parents is very, very useful, to be able to discuss this not in the situation that's provoking that. Like I think I might have mentioned a parent of a seventh grader, a 12-year-old, the mom came to me one time and said, I don't know what to do. I just found my son looking at pornography on the computer. How do I handle that? Fortunately, she was able to come to me and she didn't say, get off of that. That's horrible, that kind of thing. So we talked about that as a teachable moment, where you can actually discuss the situation, whether it's that or some other situation, to try to figure out what prompted the kid to do something that was
Mm.
wrong. Um, so I would say one of the biggest golden tools is communication, not only for parents and kids, but I think for adults as well.
Sure.
And these days communication is, um, it's been perverted, frankly, where people just say nasty things to other people and they really don't know how to communicate
Or hide behind a keyboard where it's a
or
couple
hide
of,
behind the
yeah,
keyboard and just post things,
yeah.
that they wouldn't
We're out of
do.
time. I would like to keep communicating with you. It's like,
Me too.
and you've inspired something. I'm going to share in 5 seconds here. This morning, my daughter was in the car. She's 17. Passenger's door is not closing. It's not latching. And I don't get crazy. I don't get angry. I get a little frustrated. I'm like trying to close it. It's 4 degrees outside.
Ugh.
I wasn't yelling. I was just so frustrated. Like, oh God, it's freezing. I'm like, I got a screwdriver. Finally got it to close. It's been an ongoing little issue. It's under warranty. Going to take it in. But I'm going to text her in a little while and just say, sorry if I, got a little, edgy there. Not against her or anything. It was just the situation. Again,
Yeah.
didn't yell, just a little like, really? But I don't want her to think that that's me. And I don't want her ever think that, I was on her. It was just, a mechanical issue in
I
four
think that's
degrees.
good. I mean, life is that's normal life. Things are
Yeah.
frustrating and we blow up. But I think your decision to text her and apologize, I said, I hope I didn't mean that against you. I was just
No, it
frustrated.
wasn't even against anybody. And I didn't even
It
blow
was
up.
just against the car. Yeah.
And I wasn't even cursing. It was nothing like that. It was just more of a, a side that maybe she hasn't seen in Dad,
Yeah.
or if not in a while.
So, another issue is, do we completely control our emotions? Do we never get to express anger or frustration?
You're
I
not
don't
being
think
real
that's
if you.
you're not being real.
Yeah.
But I think certainly recognizing it and apologizing for blowing up or, getting frustrated.
Yeah.
That I think that's fine, but I don't think, we're not perfectly calm people, and nobody is. So it's what
On
we
any
do.
other day, it would have been fine. It was 4 degrees.
Yeah, right.
Allan, wonderful talking with you. Thank you for all the insight. Instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. If you have any questions, even career connected or challenges with your kids, even if you want to keep it anonymous, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for being here today.
Okay, keep warm.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
and intentionally not open that door until it gets fixed. That's it.
Right.
That's
Yes.
the lesson there. All right. We'll catch up soon.
Okay.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.